Afternoon, everybody. You guys must not have gotten the message that I was preaching tonight, or you'd be missing too.
Well, they thought I was.
So, today's lesson is going to be beautiful because our God is beautiful. If you would, let's start in Psalms chapter 27, and we're going to read verse 4. And here's David talking. He says, "One thing I have asked the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord, to inquire in his temple." So, right off the bat, my lesson tonight is going to be on beauty. A lot of times beauty gets a bad rap. And I'm here to tell you that's not God's plan. Being beautiful, being nice looking, smelling good has never been a sin. Don't let anybody tell you that. A lot of times, especially young kids, beauty fades, beauty's vain, beauty's temporal. Yes, those are all true. Never, ever has God said that beauty is a sin. Let's not mix those things. So, let me begin with the question. How many of you looked in the mirror before you came? Make sure you got ready. Make sure you were dressed. Make sure you didn't have barbecue sauce still stuck on your shirt. We do those common things. Those things are not a sin. They're not bad. They're okay. I was talking with my daughter and I asked her, "Hey, when I'm doing this sermon, what is one thing you would like me to make sure I present?" The thing she said is, being offensive is offensive. It ruins your testimony. If we are so far gone where we say any type of hygiene, any type of self-care is wrong, you have just put people off. As you can tell, as I walked in, this was a totally different Jose than walked in this morning. He has a, crisp white shirt on. He has his tie. I tried to do something with the hair. I did wax it. It's presentable. What am I presenting to the world? If I came in all dirty and sweaty, just got done fighting with my dog, and came up here, it'd be kind of off-putting. If you go to somebody and try to preach the word or talk to them about Jesus and your breath stinks, you know what? They're going to be distracted. They're not going to really listen. Hey, man, tic-tac time, back off. I think too many times when we look at beauty, or we automatically know that the world has abused it, and I do say abused. Let me give you another fact out here. How much do you think the world has spent on beauty last year? 1 million? 2 million? 100 million? 1 billion? 700 billion. And that would include, haircuts, skincare, makeup, cologne, perfume, shampoo, fitness, clothes. Why? Because our civilization cares about beauty. It's okay to care about it. It's not a bad thing. Can we make it a bad thing? Yeah, we can make anything a bad thing. Food can become a bad thing. If you don't believe me, watch my 600-pound life. Yeah, does that mean we all stop eating because somebody can abuse it? No. Sex is a good thing. Has it been abused? Oh yeah, sex has been abused. Does that mean we all stop getting married, have no more kids because sex has been abused? No. Because beauty was God's idea before it became man's business. Let me say that again. Beauty came from God. Before we corrupted it, before we took it, before we made it a multi-billion-dollar industry, beauty was God's. A lot of times we talk about, beauty being vain. Yes, beauty is vain. You know what? Money is mammon. I still have to go to work. And you know what happens before I go to work? My wife checks me to make sure I'm not offensive before I walk out that door. Hey, I don't know how many times I've walked in here and Miss Kim has fixed my collar. Again, just because something can be abused or used wrongly doesn't mean it has all of a sudden become a sin. The Bible never says don't take care of yourself. That's not in the Bible. Beauty was God's idea. Idolatry is man's problem. The pursuit of beauty with God in the center is beautiful. And hopefully through this lesson, you're going to see as I present this, as I present what beauty is in God's term, in God's words, you will see that, there's nothing wrong with beauty. Again, like all things, can it be corrupted? Yeah, it can be corrupted. He made everything beautiful in his times. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Again, everything. So what does everything not leave out? Well, anything. In God's purpose, when he got done on the seventh day, and it said, and God saw that it was good. Did we leave it that way? No. We corrupted it. But that wasn't God's plan. That wasn't his fault. As we just read in Proverbs chapter 27, one of the things that amazes me, David says, one of the things he desires, so again, this is the desire, that's that hunger. Hey, I want this really, really bad. Many of you know, I'm watching the World Cup, I'm cheering for my teams. You see these guys that are so hungry, so, flabbergasted. They want to put the ball in the back of that net so bad, willing to break their legs, hurt themselves to put that ball in the back of the net. That's that desire, that hunger. What did David say he wanted to see? God's beauty. He wanted to see God that way. How many of us want to see God that way? Or is he an afterthought? Me first, and then I'll think about God. That's where we start having problems. We think about Moses. Moses asked to see God. God says, I can't do that to you. Not because God was ugly. Why? Because to see God in his purest form would kill him of such awesomeness that God is. God's beauty isn't just the physical appearance, but what he contains. And I think a lot of times we forget about that. Beauty isn't just, an outward appearance. Beauty is also what's in the inside of a person. I'm so happy for that, because I'd be in trouble if it wasn't. My beauty, who I am, isn't just because I look good. I do, but it isn't just that. We all care about appearance. It's just a fact. It's just something that we have to deal with. We all do it. I don't care. The most, person who doesn't take any time because of our society and how we do stuff, we care about beauty. If you don't believe me, go to court. What's the judge going to say if you come in looking raggedy? You can't stand before me. Go home. What if a woman comes in with too little clothes? What is he going to say to her? You can't be in front of me. Go home. It is part of it. You don't believe me? Go get a job. What's Walmart going to do? Here's your uniform. Here's your vest. There's a dress code. Don't believe me? Go to a wedding. What is the bride like? Oh man, she looks like a cupcake ready, she is at her best. The guy, dressed to the T's. Again, nothing wrong with that. But what place does beauty have in God's kingdom? And again, here we have reminded Samuel, when he's picking the next king, he says, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Remember, how many brothers did David have? 7. They all come before Samuel. And Samuel, it's got to be this one. Oh, look how big and strong this one is. Oh, look at this one. I haven't picked any of them. Why? Because the heart wasn't right. But yet, when God does describe David, what does he describe him as? A reddish, good-looking guy. Again, beauty is not the problem. It's the heart that goes along with it. If beauty was sinful, why does God call himself beautiful? Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God shines forth. Psalms 50 and verse 2. So again, as I mentioned, beauty is not the problem. It's how we deal with it, how we do with it. Again, if you read, and I've mentioned this already, Genesis chapter 1 and 2, when God gets done with creation, he calls it good, he calls it perfect, he calls it, hey, this is how it is. You know, just think about all the wonderful things God created at that time. There were flowers, there were mountains, birds, fruit, rivers, stars, sunsets. Did Adam need flowers to survive? Did he need pretty things? No. Did he need food? Yes. Could have God made everything just gray or white and black and, you know, hey, this is how it is? Could he have done that and we could have survived? Yeah, he did. Could he have made us all look the same? Yeah, he could have. But he didn't. He put variety, he put color, he put beauty into this world. And there's nothing wrong with that. Problem is when I start worshiping the sunset, when I start worshiping the stone, when I start worshiping the rock, opposed to the person who created it, that's the problem. That's where the sin gets involved. So again, repeating, beauty begins with God. What is beauty? I should have probably started with that. Let's define beauty. And my definition is anything that reflects God. Order, purpose, truth, love. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Psalms 29, verse 2. Again, just think about that. One of the coolest things that I've ever done is when I've gone into science class and they start teaching you about the Fibonacci rule, and you see how perfect this is. Oh, look at this picture. Look at this picture. Or when we start comparing, hey, what is beauty in art? All of a sudden you see this golden triangle, or you see this symmetricalness, or you see all of a sudden, you know what? Numbers all of a sudden become beautiful. And I never understood that. Numbers were a headache. They weren't beautiful. But yet, artists, musicians turn numbers into art, into beauty. Again, order, purpose, truth. The creation was full of beauty. Beauty reflects God's nature. And God saw that everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Can't get away from that. Can we corrupt everything? Yeah, we can corrupt everything. Eating too much food. The beautiful plants that God created, all of a sudden, hey, you know what? Let's take these for not medicinal purpose, but for recreational purposes. From opium to poppies to heroin, you name it. It was a beautiful plant. It was there to help us. Now we've abused it. This has always been fun to me. God calls people beautiful. Never says that it's a sin that they're beautiful, but he calls them beautiful. Bible acknowledges physical beauty. Beauty itself is not a sin. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. The Song of Solomon, verses 4, verse 7. Here's Solomon trying to woo his betrothed. You're beautiful. I made my ChatGPT as I was arguing this lesson. Hey, how many times does God list people in the Bible as beautiful? Over 30 times. I've already mentioned David. We have Moses, because if he was an ugly baby, guess what? Probably would get drowned. We have, I mentioned Joseph. We have Rebecca. We have Sarah. How many times did Abraham get in trouble because Sarah was too pretty? And mind you, she was, 40, 50, 60 years old the second time he was in front of the king. And he said, hey, you're my sister and I'm my wife. Lying because she was so pretty. Esther. Who knows for such a time as this that you have come to this purpose? What, to save Israel? What did she save Israel with? Her beauty. Again, Beauty is not the issue. It's when we self-inflict pride. When I become so beautiful that I forget who gave me that beauty. And there's a couple of those mentioned in the Bible. Absalom. Beautiful hair. Guess what that hair did to him? Got caught in that bush. He couldn't get away. Got killed. So again, God recognizes that there are beautiful people. So if you would, in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 3 and 4, if we could go there real quick. Da-da-da. And here's where most Christians go to when they talk about beauty and adorning and what have you. So 1 Peter chapter 3 says, do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and putting on of gold jewelry or the clothes that you wear. But let your adorning be the hidden person of your heart, which is imperishable, the beauty of the gentle and quiet spirit, which God cites as very precious. Let's go ahead and read verse 5 so we can 5 and 6 so we can finish it out. For this is how the holy women who hope in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, as you are her children. If do good and do not fear anything that is frightening. So again, Sarah is physically called beautiful. Nobody can take that away from her. But what did God care about more? Her attitude, her personality, who she was in her heart. Again, I say that they both work coincide. So no, a lot of times, I've heard, Christians say, it's, sinful to wear too much jewelry. Please don't tell my wife that. She loves her bling. It's not the braiding of hair. So that means we can't ever braid our hair? I hope not. No. What he's saying is, hey, this is not the purpose. So the illustration, the outward wrapping of paper, the inward is the real gift. But we have this treasure in jars of clay. 2 Corinthians verse 4-7. Again, that's the point. Let me ask you a question. How did God ask his priests to be dressed? They had some beautiful robes. They made sure they were purple, they were blue, they had gold, threaded through their stuff. They were washed, they were clean. He said, hey, you guys have to be without blemish. These are the guys that I want. These are the ones that are going to be in my temple. Oh, wait, let's talk about his temple. That thing should have been called one of the wonders of the world. Why? Because it was so beautiful. David and Solomon spent so much time to make that what? Beautiful. For God, to honor God. Sometimes I worry about us. Do I not take enough time to honor God and the way I beautify stuff? From my building to my home to my dress. Yes, I do not want to be prideful and say, hey, look at my beautiful building and there's nobody inside. But at the same time, do I want to be neglectful and just make it look my building is run over? There has to be a fine balance between that. God loves beauty. As I mentioned, the tabernacle. Now here's one that we haven't talked about. How does Revelations talk about heaven? Again, I understand the symbolism, but what is John's point? Do we want to be there? Yeah, why? Well, the streets are made of gold. The silver is so calm, it looks like a jewel. The gates have all these jewels on it. There's a huge pearl as the gate, or is made of pearls. Point is, that's the place to be. You name it, heaven has it. And the most important thing is what? God dwells in it. But again, just because it's God, he talks about how beautiful it is. Where would God be? Would we ever see God ruling in a dump, in a junkyard, a shield, where it just smells and stinks? Or is heaven known as a place of paradise? You shall make the holy garments. Why? For the glory and for beauty. Again, it was to show, hey man, that's my people. Sometimes I think we play with God too much. And I'm not trying to call out anybody because you guys all know how I dress. My wife makes sure my stuff is clean and nice before I get here because I'd probably be forgetful now. But again, who am I honoring? What am I coming on the Lord's day to do? I'm coming here to remember the Lord's sacrifice. I'm coming here to commemorate his death. You know what? I'm coming here for a funeral service. How much respect do I have for that funeral service for my Lord? For the omnipotent God? Do I just roll over and go, or do I put any thought into it? I ask you because now I think about the times that I've gone to family members' funerals. Get the calls, you get all this and that. Hey, you make sure we're wearing purple because that was his favorite color. We're all going to do this. It's a big old celebration. It's our last goodbye to him. But because it is so common, something that we do so often, do we take away the importance of it? Are we showing the proper dedication to our God? Because he is still the God of the Old Testament as he is in the New Testament, even more so. Again, just a thought. Danger. Beauty is temporary. Very, very much so. Today, you can be a young 24-year-old, step out in front of a bus, and guess what? You might be 24-year-old, but that beauty is going to be hurting. I just saw on my Facebook a lady that I work with in the warehouse was all casted up. I guess she had a major accident. Her car looked like an accordion. Just like that, she said. I believe it. We drive in Dallas, DFW area. That's just nuts. Speaking with my mom, she says, you know, I used to get around. Now I have to wait for you to help me get around. Again, the danger isn't beauty. The danger isn't youth. The danger is trusting in it. This is more important than what God says. Charm is deceitful. Beauty is vain, but the woman who fears the Lord is praised. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 30. Anywhere in Proverbs chapter 31 call that lady ugly? No. But what does it do? It says here, this is the priority. This is what's important. Christians should be beautiful. Again, some of us have a handicap in the outward appearance. Sorry, just how it is. But that should not reflect from the beauty of somebody's smile. One of the things that they taught me when I became a salesman for AT&T, I was on the phones, so nobody could see me. One of the things they gave me as a tool is they put a mirror up on my monitor when I was picking up the phone. On that mirror it said, smile, because it will come through the phone. Brethren, I have seen some of the ugliest Christians in my life. Where are you going? I'm going to church. I have to go to the gospel meeting. Like, whoa! Do you understand how ugly you look? Why would anybody be enticed to do that? Serve a risen Savior. Oh, really? Okay, let me make sure I don't go there. Really? You know, how's your marriage? Really? What would ever convince me to get married if that's how marriage is? Reflect God in all areas. When I'm speaking, when I'm inviting, we have this series coming up, The Way. How are we going to be introduced to people? How are we going to say, if we go door to door and I'm looking all grumpy, oh man, it's so hot on you, or if we're excited, hey, we got an opportunity for you. Do you want to hear about that opportunity? We got something going on. Which one are you really going to be listening to? The guy who you know is just putting up cards because he has to put up cards, he's just trying to hit a quota, or the guy who's excited about what he's selling? As he who called you is holy, you be holy in all your conduct. Again, that word all. Not just sometimes, not just when you feel like it, not just when the preacher gives a good message that you like. All. Does your life reflect God's beauty? Again, I know I've been tongue-in-cheek with a lot of this, but this last application slide really hurt me. Think about it. Fighting with the kids, fighting with Michelle, fighting with, people who work for me. And I think about that. In the scheme of things, am I letting God's beauty be seen in my action, in my conduct? I'm like Jonathan. I go to work at 4:30 in the morning and there's a car accident on 75. And instead of being a half an hour drive, it turns into a 2-hour drive. Yes, it's happened. It's happened more than once. Where's my conduct? Where's my beauty? Do I get to work and yell at everybody because I had a 2-hour drive? Or do I thank God that I'm not the car accident that got crushed that caused the 2-hour drive? Sad to report, a lot of times I'm that first guy. Home, speech, relationships. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works. Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. Again, being beautiful is not always just the outward appearance. It is part of it. We did talk about, hey, that's just a package. I can have a diamond ring, a beautiful diamond ring. Let's say a 2-carat pear or mesquite or whatever it is, your favorite cut stone. And if I put it in this ugly, ugly, beat up box that just looks like trash, even though there's something precious in it, I say, here, how are you going to feel about that? Number one, your attitude was horrible. Number two, where's the presentation? How many times do we do that with the gospel? Hey, you need this. Who are you and why are you telling me I need this? Seek first his kingdom. Think about David's first verse in Psalms 27, verse 4. Why am I seeking his kingdom? So I can see his beauty. So I can inquire about it. Reflect his beauty daily. One of the strongest messages that has always stuck with me is when I was in, high school, junior high, and we were teaching about where they were called Christians first, was in Antioch. And they were first called Christians in Antioch. I know that. You know why they were first called Christians in Antioch? It wasn't to say that there was a good thing. It was derogatory. It was saying, hey, you think you're a little Christ. Hey, you're acting like you're Christ. You're holier than thou, aren't you? They weren't happy with them. It was a diss. Again, are we standing up for Christ? Are we little Christians? Am I that person? But seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness. Again, I've been focusing on Psalms 27 and verse 4 with David. And if you would, I don't know how clear that picture's coming through that sunset. Yes, that's where I want to be. When I retire, that's what I want to see. I want to see the beach, the sun coming down, just, clean. I don't want a dirty beach. If you're going to dirty my beach, don't come to my beach. That beauty. And you know what's awesome? God has promised me that. And then some. Do you see John's description of heaven? And I understand that is symbolic. It's not really what we're getting. But he had to use words so I could understand. And the words that he used about heaven was the most precious, the most beautiful. That which he could not hold in. He meant, if I had to compare it to something, here it is. God is about beauty. Don't let anybody tell you he's not. It is not wrong to be beautiful. What's wrong is to be ugly. One of the sayings that my dad always taught me, messing with me, he goes, yeah, beauty is skin deep, but ugliness is to the bone. And there are some very beautiful people in the world that are ugly. And there's some very plain people that you can't stop talking about their beauty. Why? Because they care. Again, this lesson, my wife asked me to bring it for you because a lot of times we take for common what God has given us. We corrupt what is good. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful. There's nothing wrong with caring about your skin regimen. Even though I don't have one, I gotta follow Jonathan for one. Even though you spend time braiding your hair. I wish I had that problem. But what God wants is your heart first. That's what he's asking for. He says, hey, let me put my beauty in you. Because even someone as me can be beautiful. Why? Because God is love. Thank you so much as we stand, as we sing, the invitation here for you. God is calling you forth. I don't see anybody here that isn't a Christian, but if anything that needs to be said or done, or if we need to pray for you, please come forward as we stand and sing.